Seems like it's working.
The requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law have been met, stating the date, time, place, and agenda, and filed with the Township Clerk, Town Hall Bulletin Board, News Media, and the Atlantic County Superintendent of Schools. Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Brownhill.
Here.
Mrs. Jacoba.
Here.
Mrs. Kurtz.
Here.
Mrs. Bale is absent. Mr. Roner.
Here.
Mrs. Silva. Here. Mrs. Werner.
Here.
Mr. Venturata.
Here.
Mrs. Watt. Here. Mr. Weber.
Present.
I'm here. Ms. Gifford.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we rise for the flag salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we're going to have a presentation about the state assessment results.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So it's been a while since we've been able to see some results from the NJSLA test. And I'm just going to go through, there's quite a bit of information in here. Again, we took the NJSLA was taken last spring, and ELA math for 3rd through 8th grade, and then science for 5th and 8th grade. But I do, as a requirement to, we do have to present to the public our results. One of the other tests that we do have that are state test, mandated tests, the dynamic learning maps, or DLM, and the access for ELLs. Excuse me, these are 2 other tests that we give, but we never have more than 10 students taking the test, so we're not allowed to report those because it can betray some confidentiality with the students. But I just like to mention that if we had more than that, I would be reporting on those as well. So a couple things to keep in mind as I go through here. The most recent comparison was from 2018-19. That was the last time we had this test. So if you go back to that, 3 or 4 years, a lot of the students aren't here anymore. And a lot of them weren't here. We gave the test. So it's been a little while. As always, I'll put this on the curriculum website because there's a lot of numbers. If you want to be able to sit there and really look for stuff, you can. Right? Of course, I can create more in math, NJSLA, 5 levels. Okay, level 5 and 4, meeting and exceeding expectations. And then if you level 1 to level 4, and then for the science, 4 levels, and the 2 top ones, advanced, proficient. We usually group those together and try to compare to the state. So just a few things to keep in mind. So this is what I meant by the numbers. These are percentages compared to the state. This is our whole grade, all the grade levels for ELA. And I have graphs of these too because they're a little easier to look at. But just to highlight a couple quick things, I did in areas where we exceeded, where we matched or exceeded the state in ELA. So there were quite a few areas there, according to what the state has and everything. So let me just go through them. Primary school, 3rd and 4th grade. I don't know if you remember this or not, but as we go through, remember level 1, 2, and 3. I want to say they're not. We don't want to be higher than the state in those because remember, we're not proficient over here. So these are where those charts, you kind of want them to go this way, go kind of higher in this direction. So the better you do in level 4 and 5, those are your students that are already at where we want them to be or where the state wants them to be. I also like to combine 4 and 5 just to give you an idea of how many kids are passing. And this is for the entire 3rd grade, the entire 4th grade. You can see there we're very close. Red is the state, blue is us. So you can see where the state was. Now the state, we no longer have, excuse me, what you, district factor groups, where we were compared to same type of size that we were, same type of demographics, and the same type of for the town and everything. We're compared to the whole state. So this is us compared to not just schools that would be lower economically, but all the ones in North Jersey that are much higher economically. So just at a quick glance, I was pleasantly pleased with that, which was where we were compared to the state with the levels. Again, it's ELA. Middle school. So 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade for ELA. Again, quick look. You want to look at levels 4 and 5, see where we were. You can see that in 6th and 8th grade, we exceeded the state in how many kids passed this test. That's awesome, especially a district our size. And, you know, we are generally, what did we used to be here? A CD maybe, or a DE? You weren't here on that. Okay, so that's very good.
We were a big.
B.
A BC, really?
Sorry,
Wow,
I was
great,
small.
good stuff.
Let me get a sticker.
So 5th grade, 7th grade, I'll tell you about interventions and everything whenever I see anything that might be a problem. Again, we're looking this way, trying to kind of climb a mountain, I guess you could say. You can see 7th grade here, level 5, you know, just to give you a quick example. Level 5, advanced proficient, our 7th graders were more advanced, our percentage of 7th graders were more advanced proficient, percentage of students that were advanced proficient. So that's how you kind of look at each one of these bars.
Now they're comparing the state to the same year that.
Oh, yes, good question. This is all, you know, apples to apples. This is this year's state numbers and this year and our numbers as well. If you if you have a child here, they do have these numbers, I think at the top of the report that you get and everything. But so I just use those.
Now, I would like.
I'm going too fast, but you know, I originally, I got down, there was a lot of slides. But there's still quite a bit of stuff. So this is what I did for, I thought was worth looking at. This is overall, we're still on ELA. I went back and found our 18-19 scores and compared them to 21-22, okay? And 18-19 is red, 21-22 is this year. I'm going to call this the COVID slide.
Is this one particular grade level or? all
This is
of them?
overall 3 to 8,
Okay.
our entire school district.
So the
So-
red is us, not the state, right?
These are all us, these are just our scores,
Versus.
Okay.
2018-19 versus 2021-22.
So that's a.
Because that was the last time. There's the slide. The other thing I did, and that was one of the slides I took out because it ended up being the same. I found the state scores for 2018-19. Our slide is almost exactly equal as to what this overall state. So at first, I had the wrong numbers and I freaked out. Because it looked like we, whoa, yeah. But so I'm going to say, I believe it was about 10%. If you look at the passing students, they went down 10%. We were at like 10.8. The state went down 10.9 over the same. So it's not good. Still, the students are not doing as well, but we're in the same boat as everyone in the state, at least with these numbers. That's a bit of a generalization, but the state has at each grade level has generally 98,000 students testing. So that's a pretty good.
Maybe like a one level slide, like they didn't slide,
Right,
you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
yeah.
Like
You
a
can
one
also-
Yeah, like one's not
Yeah.
humongous and the other one's,
Yeah,
yeah.
like if you had seen something huge right here and then a big difference in the red and the blue. Okay, so let's look at math. Math, we have a couple areas where we exceeded the state. I'm just going to say it. The algebra kids crushed it. I mean, the state was at, let's see, the
Wow.
level 4, 2% of the state that took algebra was at a level 4, which is proficient. And for here in Mullica, 73% of the students go to work. Now, we're talking about an algebra class that's generally between 25 and 30 kids, but that's still percentage-wise, that almost all of our kids doing that. Just want to kind of give a shout out to them because they crush. The third and fourth grade math, this is, again, now we're back to comparing against the state. I'd like to see the blue and the reds to be somewhat close to each other, just to know where I don't want to see a huge difference. I have seen their results, and I know that I'm happy with how we did compared to what they're talking about. So without saying any names, so that made me feel pretty good about us. Fourth grade, same thing, pretty close there. Again, remember not to look at this as a good, level 2. Oh, we did better. Well, remember, level 2 is not that great. We need them to be over there. So that's kind of something as you're parsing through to keep in mind. Okay, so here's the middle school without algebra math. This is why it's good that the state is sitting here too. Both us and the state go like this with 8th grade. This happens in 8th grade math every year, and it's because we take the brightest kids in math and we put them in a whole nother class, and then we teach 8th grade math to the students that can't do algebra yet. So that's what we generally see, and you can see the state really did the same thing. Which one was it? Was it, I think it was 7th grade math? Yes, 7th grade math, 4 and 5, beat the state there. So remember, 7th grade, that math in 7th grade is not split up between like pre-algebra and math, that's everybody. Then you get to 8th grade, you have 8th grade math, and then you have our algebra scores, which there's that, I just like showing that. I wish all of you could look like that, they will. But yeah, so that really gives you, how good those kids did. Okay, overall math. Now we're back to what I did with the ELA. This is our 18-19 scores versus the 21-22 scores. And you can see the math-wise, I don't see it as close with math. I think we kind of knew that a little bit. But we see when I look at the state levels, this is, the red to the blue is the COVID slide thing. We're pretty much right at the same as what the state did with their slide as well. So there wasn't anything that really alarmed me. I didn't really have to go that far with it, but I had an idea in my mind, and I was able to find the state scores. I had to try and just kind of look. And so I'm not, I wasn't worried about it. And if it was a problem, I would have certainly brought it here and said, we need to do some things here. But so yes, there's a COVID slide with math as well, but the state slid as well, and pretty much around the same as we did. So they use 4, instead of 5 for science, but I haven't seen that. So anyway, they use 4. 5th grade did pretty well against the state. Level 3, again, proficient and advanced proficient. Top 2 levels. The students are meeting and exceeding expectations. Let me show you the graphs of that. You can see state. As far as students passing the test, they were in state. 8th grade less. I can say that we're working on actual summer regulations of these subjects too. Just did that in October. So hopefully we'll see what's going on with science and stuff. And now subgroups, there's a lot of information here. Subgroups I'm allowed to report out. Again, I have to have a minimum amount of students that meet that subgroup. There's certainly some subgroups that I left out because we didn't have that 10 or less students, or 10 or more students, sorry. So I kind of looked at male and female, and I do have graphs of these. And then different racial and ethnic groups, how they fared. And then I just put these together for no reason. It's just I had 3 more and wanted to make it so you could look at it better. There's economically disadvantaged, which are basically students on free and reduced lunch, students with IEPs, and students with 504s. Now, before we even look at the scores, you can usually predict some of these things. Economically disadvantaged students always do poorly, and we're always trying to boost them up. That's what we use Title I for, and that's what we use a lot of our grants for. Students with IEPs, they have a learning disability. They're going to struggle on these tests. Used to be the boys were doing better. That doesn't happen as much anymore because that was something we saw. We tried to work on. So those are just a couple things. I do want to say one more thing about economically disadvantaged. I didn't even compare it to last time. And the reason for that is last year, and I guess the year before, you have to actually fill out the application for free and reduced lunch to get. Because of that, our numbers of we didn't get richer all of a sudden. They just didn't have to fill out the application. So our numbers right now are way lower that people have actually qualified for free and reduced lunch. And we're trying to get them to fill out the applications again, go through that process. But it was such a big difference. I didn't even compare them. I want to say there was a couple, there was hundreds last time, and now we're at like 100 something. This test, and that this test was not out. This was last. We started this year as people registering, but give a reminder out of it. Remember to fill out the application so that students get what they need. Okay, so the race and ethnicity, or Latino, African American is red, white, green, and 2 or more races. That is a category, and we have quite a few people who identify as 2 or more races. And you can see that's actually. I do like that I'm seeing things going this way as far as getting to level 4. 5 is tough. That's advanced proficient, but I do like that kind of curve. Unfortunately, this is just us, and this is what we did this year. So I don't have state data to compare this to. I'd love to get. If I ever got it, I would just kind of look at it and you want to see. This is all I have to work with. Special ed and economic disadvantage, I just put them together and everything. And students with IEPs, yes, we know they're going to struggle. We try to give them. I do try to tell the teachers, give them plenty of breaks. It's tough to do that. I would love to see them having breaks all day and just let's do one question and then let's go do this and then let's do another question. Never quite works out that way, but we try. Oh, so these are the same subgroups. Math. Let me go through here. Not as much going that way as I'd like to say. I really wish I could compare it to the state and see what else is going on because I just like to see that. And these are the ED and the 504 and IEPs again. Again, I'm going to put this on the website and you can look. So a couple quick things that to look at there. ELA 3rd, 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade met or exceeded state standards in the 2 higher levels. Math 7th grade and algebra I showed you, and then science met or exceeded in grade 5. So good stuff. And then different things we try to do. I mean, this is just a couple things we can do. This isn't every single thing we do, but now that I finally have some of this, I'd like to take a deep dive. I'm starting to do that into the different content areas because all this information is just coming out from the state, and just kind of give this to the grade level teams and say, look at areas or standards that on a large scale we kind of maybe missed. Are they actually okay this year or not? This data in a nice format, not just they can kind of look at it and see how, and and then think about, well, what can I do differently this year to inform my teacher? Vertical articulation, we tried to do that during PD days, did that last year. We just did it. Now the vertical PD we did in October, that was between our 7th and 8th grade teachers and the 9th and 10th grade teachers at Cedar Creek. So that was exciting. We've been trying to get more of that happening too, to see where the 4th and 5th grade teachers be on the same subject. I'm trying to go. And then, of course, comparing the beginning of the year, all the other things we're doing, different assessments here, the ones that teachers are doing. And the new one, we're not new, but the one we're using kind of across the board this year is exactly that those students, as doing the beginning of the year test, they do get onto a learning path. So some of these students that might have been struggling, I'm going to, I've been telling the teachers, let's look at their learning path based on what they struggled with just right now in the beginning of the year. And then it tries to hit the standards and skills that they're, and keeps giving them encouragement. It also gives them different little mini lessons that are good. And then we test them again, see if they do that. System and referrals to the resources that we have and services. So that's it.
Thanks, Scott.
Didn't mean for it to be too long.
And you're gonna put that on the curriculum website, you said?
Yeah, I like that. Right on.
Thank you.
Yep.
At this time, the meeting will be open to the public for comments. If your comments pertain to students, personnel, litigation, or negotiations, we would ask that you see the superintendent after the meeting, since the board does not generally discuss items in public. Would anyone like to make a statement?
Darn, I had a bunch of personnel questions. No. Kidding, nothing tonight.
All right, thank you. Old business? New business? Correspondence? Nope. Committee reports. Curriculum policy. Oh, you want- That's me, because you weren't here.
Oh,
Yeah, right? All right, wait, give me a second to find my page. All right, we talked about the policies that are on the agenda. They were all mandatory, so just mostly wording changes. Let's see, we talked about the county approved our remote learning plan, which we hope never to use again. We talked about the field trips that the Big History Project is going to take with the kids to the Academy of Natural Sciences and talked about surveying teachers about how they feel about grading and the testing we do, and if there's any changes they think we need. Talked about progress assessments and benchmarks. And finance and operations.
We talked about the HVAC. We got an update on the HVAC in the 3 classrooms that are without heater air conditioning right now. Also, RD is working on finalizing bid specs for the grant projects. We're also applying for grant funds that just became available. And we are going through bid specifications for we didn't have an update on the wastewater one out. This update last week that we'll get to hear about. Transportation, we're still having issues with, double runs in the morning and the afternoon. And we're exploring, some sort of punitive action against the transportation companies. Get back on track. We also project, Johnny Park, a couple of others. We discussed the substitute and the shortage that we have because of it, and that's about it.
Personnel negotiations.
We discussed the personnel issue.
Thank you. You're welcome. Any updates?
Jerome, the wastewater treatment plant. As that stands right now, if you look at it, it looks like the building is finished. We have been waiting for two parts for nearly a year now, due to all kinds of challenges with shipping and everything else. We were expecting those to arrive this week. We have a meeting with them tomorrow, so I'll find out if that has actually happened and where we stand with those. But hopefully we'll see a light at the end of the tunnel with that project very soon. That's what we're hoping for. Real quick update on our district goals. As I had mentioned previously, that I'll provide updates as they become available. We recently pushed out the communication survey to the school community to gather feedback from parents and the whole school community on communication. That survey, if parents haven't done that yet, everybody, you have until Friday. We're going to close it out at that point. A reminder was sent out earlier this week, and then we'll take that information and we'll start working on next steps as far as forming some committees and taking a look at all of the information we got from that. The HVAC that was mentioned previously, we do have a current grant that we received. We're going to be going for another one, but with that current grant, the city to purchase the equipment necessary for that grant project, and we're purchasing them in advance because the equipment will be anywhere from 30 to so we're trying to move that. And then also on the agenda this evening are several volunteers, the bus volunteers that we had talked about way back in August and September, as well as additional parent volunteers wanting to help out within the school for a variety of activities that we've identified. So we're working with those parents on coming up with a schedule, but we have them. Those parents are also being going through a clearance system that we use for our volunteers who help chaperone the overnight trip as well. So it's just an added layer of building. So we're looking at so that I believe is what I have for update. All right.
I
Thank
have a
you.
question.
Yes.
When is the closing date for the bids for the Mara School?
20, I just looked at it today, 27th or 28th. And we have had some interest.
All right. At this time, can I get a motion and a second for the approval of the September 28th, 2022 Board of Education regular meeting minutes? There was no executive session on September 28th.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Item 7 is just the monthly reports for informational purposes. At this time, can I get a motion and a second for the Mullica Township Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, approve items 8B through 8J?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Jacobo?
Yes.
Mrs. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Roner?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Winterbottom?
Yes.
Mrs. Wild?
Yes.
Mrs. Brownhill?
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, can I get a motion and a second for the Mullica Township Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, approve items 9B and 9C?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll just highlight on professional development. We have several teachers, we reported this out previously, but we have several teachers involved in a computer science grant through Stockton University as well as the state. So you'll see people in there, that is the CS Coastal Hub training. So we're excited to have those people a part of that process.
Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Jacobo? Yes. Mrs. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva? Mrs. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Winterbottom? Yes. Mrs. Wild?
Yes.
Mrs. Brownhill?
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, can I get a motion and a second from the Mullica Township Board of Education upon recommendation of the superintendent, approve items 10B and 10C. Any discussion? Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Chacova?
Yes.
Mrs. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Romer?
Yes.
Mr. Silva? Mrs. Werner?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Wild?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion and a second for Mullica Township Education upon recommendation of the business administrator, approve items 11B through 11G.
Motion.
Second. Just a couple things, the comprehensive maintenance plan and one are an annual approval, and they use this as the basis for our maintenance budget. It establishes what we're gonna do and what the minimum amount we would have to budget. As Andrew said, the HVAC project needs a project application with the state, so we're applying for that, as well as the purchase for the equipment. Remington Burnick is approved again because initially we approved it as an ESSER grant, but because we got this other grant, they're actually going to be paid out of that. So it's not additional money, it's just reclassifying where it's being paid out.
Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Chacova?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Werner? Mr. Silva? Mrs. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Winterbottom?
Yes.
Mrs. Wild?
Yes.
Mrs. Brownhill?
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, the meeting will now be open to the public for comments. If your comments pertain to students, personnel, litigation, or negotiation, we would ask that you see the superintendent after the meeting, since the board does not generally discuss such items in public. Any comments? No? Our next board meeting will be November 16th. I do have a PTA update report. Yard sale was good and well attended. Everyone for participating. They got lots of donations, but don't have a dollar. They are getting ready for their gift sales, fair, food drive, and upcoming holiday night. So they thank everyone for their support. MTF?
So we, one of our fall fundraisers was the wristbands for the amusement park, and then that got rained out because of the hurricane. So it was changed, but all told, sales were pretty good. They earned about $450 for the foundation for that, and there wasn't a lot of work involved in trying to sell the wristbands. But upcoming, to do the Christmas photo shoots like we've done in the past. That's with Photos by Randy. I'm reading that right? Yep, Photos by Randy. So we'll get information about that soon, but that's our next event coming up. So thank you.
All right. At this time, any opposed? Abstained? All right, how are the Phillies doing now?
Priorities.